Hi, Jake Mezrahi here, artist, and today I'm going to talk to you about one of my paintings titled Moses, Moses. So this painting, I'll tell you a story of how this painting came to be. About 5 years ago in 2010, I entered into to be part of an exhibit called Durus Europus. So about 2,000 years ago, one of the oldest known synagogues to be found in archaeology. There's a place called in Durus Europus. There was a synagogue where the whole inside of the synagogue was painted with different biblical scenes from the Bible, from the Torah, from history, um, and they were painted in a very unique, interesting way. That they were painted in a way that the people, like let's say Moses, for example, in the painting was painted in a modern day way. So it was kind of like if today someone were to make a comic book version of the story of the Bible. So that's the modern day way of portraying an art, or if you did an abstract way, which didn't exist before. So they had their own style. So we were all the artists. There was many artists who were in this exhibit. We were told to make a 30 by 30 painting with one of the many subjects that were part of the Durus Europa synagogue that was you could look up in history, archaeologically uncovered. Um, so this painting has a lot of symbolism, and I did a lot of research into the story of Moses and the burning bush. Including obviously reading the original straight text of what occurred, and then of course reading what we refer to as the midrash or the medrash, the legends or the allegory, the stories that were in between what was written in the Bible and what else happened, and some of the meanings and understandings of it. So there's a lot of interpretation in this painting here. So I did include some modern, my own style, but also some other modern features. Particularly, I'll start with the angel up here. This is actually an angel. Okay, we are told through again tradition that when angels appeared, so like an angel who appeared to Moses or Abraham or anyone else in those days, or even maybe today, an angel would appear dressed as a modern in modern clothes. They wouldn't look like an angel; they would look like a regular person. Just like those angels that approached Abraham, they look like people. So how was I going to dress a modern day angel? Okay, because in the story of Moses and the burning bush, an angel appears to him and talks to him as part of this encounter. So I decided to, again, symbolically make the angel look like a Hasidim, depending on how you can pronounce it, okay, which are actually a large group of a sect of the Jewish people. I mean, we have many different groups who practice differently. Okay, so though I'm not Hasidic, I come from a Sephardic background, which means my family's from the ancestry comes from the Middle East and Northern Africa, Spain, okay, and around the Mediterranean region. So I have family from all those places, but mostly from Iraq and Iran, where my ancestors lived for many generations since they were exiled from Israel 2,000 years ago. So I'm not a Hasidim. The Hasidic culture and movement started 200 years ago in Northern Europe. But how was I influenced by it? So for many years, I've been going to synagogues and learning through the Hasidic way of Judaism, and it's a very unique way of looking at Judaism. And in one of many of my rabbis actually have been Hasidic rabbis, so I've very much many times been influenced by the Hasidic way of thinking, the approach, the understanding of the Torah of history, and so that's the symbolism I use, particularly the Chabad Hasidim and the Rebbe, who I actually did meet one time when I was 10 or 11 years old. I think 10, almost 11. And I've been very much influenced by his teachings. So you can see it doesn't have a face, but it's similar to the appearance of the Rebbe. And I've painted about him before and Hasidic ideas in other paintings. So that's just starting with that, and of course, he's dressed in the hat and the other garb, and it's an angel. So that's my interpretation or my way of expressing this idea into the story of Moses. So of course, you see here it says Moses, Moses. Out of the bush, God spoke to Moses. We don't have in the 15 minutes this video is going to be, or 10 minutes. I can't go into explaining what all the symbolisms are of a bush, a burning bush, speaking, but I will go into a little bit of it. So, and why repeating his name twice. So Moses, Moses. Why not just say Moses? Okay. So imagine you approached a bush that was on fire, that was burning, but it was not consumed, meaning the bush was still intact. It wasn't like turning black and ashing and smoking. It was just a fire and a bush, tree. Okay? So you'd be in a little bit of shock, even for Moses. He was in a little bit of shock. So he needed to hear his name 2 times to really grasp what was happening. And he replied, "Here I am," which is very interesting. Abraham also replied with those same words when God spoke to him. So there is why here I am? Why doesn't he say yes? Hi, how are you? But he says, "Here I am." Okay, meaning like I've made it here. I made it here. I'm here. So the bush, in this case, it's been again history and tradition teaches us that it was a thorn bush. So I was thinking, what kind of thorn bush should I make? There's many kinds of thorn bushes. I decided to make it into a rose bush. Roses are very popular today. Maybe they're popular because they have some spiritual meaning. Maybe people plant roses because there is a spiritual connection to the fact that you have this beautiful rose and these thorns all in one. So I made it into a rose bush. We could talk now for a few minutes about what does it mean when you have a burning bush that's not consumed. So the fire was there, and it did not burn the bush. That would seem to be, I guess, a supernatural occurrence. Okay, so this was, again, showing, or in a sense, attracting Moses to this particular place. Why did he have to go to this particular place? Okay, which was in Mount Sinai, on the mountain in his journeys. So he was drawn here by the fire. But the fire, in many ways, fire in general, fire in Judaism, in Judaic religion, has a lot of symbols, and we light fire on almost every holiday. We abstain from fire on Shabbat. So, and the soul is very much compared to as fire. So spirituality has a connection to the idea, the concept of fire. And if you had to make a visual representation of spirituality, the best physical idea that seems to match it is the concept of fire. So, we learn again from learning, particularly one of the things I learned from the Rambam, Moses Maimonides, is that when it says God has arms, legs, and all these things, he doesn't really have arms and legs. These are just ways of us understanding. So when we compare God to fire or a burning bush, he's really not fire. He's more than that. But the fire is what we can comprehend. It's our example. It's our analogy. It's our way of trying to understand what that really means. So the reason why the burning bush was a fire was that it represented, as much as we can understand, spirituality. So a couple other things here. Moses asked God, "Why me? Why did you choose me? How am I going to prove that I am the one that's going to lead them? How will the people of Israel, the Hebrews that I go back to, how will they believe me that I'm here to save them? What can I show them? So God showed him 3 different signs: water turning into blood, his hand turning like a leprosy white, and the staff, which was supposedly a sapphire staff, turning into a snake. Okay, and the water that was poured out was water, and then it turned into blood. So you could see they were able to see the water turning into blood. So these were 3 things that he was supposed to use to prove who he was and the fact that he had this encounter with God. So the colors also, the colors are, I have my own set of colors I use in all my paintings, and my own kind of style of the way I put the color down on canvas, the texture of it. Okay, so these colors, if you look at my other paintings, are the same colors that I frequently use. At the bottom of the tree, there are 12 roots that are visible, and these are the roots of the Jewish people, the 12 tribes, even though today we are not considered, we don't consider ourselves different tribes, we consider ourselves as one, and that's, in many of my paintings I put 12 different 12 divisions in some part of the painting to symbolize those tribes. And they always go into something one, or they connect in somehow to one spot. So here they connect into the tree, and they're the root of this tree, so they are the root of the foundation of the story. Then you have 8 branches up here. 8 is a supernatural number. The world was created in 7 days, and that's 7 symbolizes nature in numerology. So 8 is the number above nature, so it's the supernatural. Okay, so it's that this bush is a supernatural creation. It's not, was made and it occurred only that one time. In Judaism, you never hear of the burning bush again. We don't know where it was. We don't go there. We don't hang. We don't worship it. We don't. It was a one-time thing. It was just a one-time occurrence. It's not. It wasn't made to be an ongoing thing like many other things, like maybe the holidays or other symbolism. Of course, we do refer to it every year, several times. We read about it. We make art about it, but it's not itself a permanent thing. It was a temporary expression in order to prove to Moses something. He was, in a way, a humble person, and he was afraid of going back to Egypt after this. He said to God, why me? Can't you choose somebody else to go and do this work? And God had to convince him. God had to convince Moses. So when you think of each of us, and we have struggles in our life, and we have hardships. So even Moses, didn't just march into Egypt on his own accord and just wake up one day and say, I'm going to go free the Jewish people. He needed encouragement from God himself. So even in today, we have struggles. We all have struggles, and sometimes we need encouragement from God to be able to do those things. And these are just, again, some of the symbolisms in this painting. So this is, again, the story of Moses and the burning bush. And this is one of my paintings. Thank you for joining me. And I hope you come back for another video about more artwork. Thank you. Bye.